Actually, I don't know. I feel like I've heard that that's a city. There's so many cities I don't even know about in Ontario. Let's say I'm from Guelph. They're like, I'm from Guelph. And I'm like, no, like, where are you really from? Like, and I think they would be taken aback. Like, what do you mean I'm from Guelph? Like, why are you asking me where I'm Guelph? It's like, well, are you Native American? No, I'm not Native American. So, like, where are you from? Are you from, like England or Scotland or, like what? Like, you look like you could be from Scotland, maybe. Like, you just got that look to you, like the tone and all that. So I think if I reverse that question, it would take people aback and it'd be like, why are you asking me this question? But when they pose that question, it's not strange. So, yeah, when you put it in that regard, I think maybe it makes things a bit more clear. But yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had like,
Or
I
if we,
actually don't even know their backgrounds, but we had some people in our team. I don't know if I can say this on the internet, but
don't say names or
yeah, I'm
like
not saying names,
specific
but
places.
people think they're a certain European place based on their accent, but then it's like a different European place, and it's like,
What do you mean?
but there's no contention or anything
What do you mean?
based on accent. Like they may have like an English accent, but then they're actually Scottish, and then like they're from this place in Scotland as opposed to this place. So
What do you
on
mean?
the
Like
same
people
tone, but there's
here,
no-
like
there's
people,
no malice.
like people. What do you mean?
This person I know, 2 people I know, but there's no negative intent. But it's literally the same thing. I'm just asking where you from, where you really from.
If they have an accent,
This specific person has an accent, and then they get
that's
asked all the
different.
time.
Okay, that's different. If someone has an accent and they clearly don't, they sound different to you. You're kind of like, okay, wait,
That's
where?
not different from looking different.
No,
There's literally no difference.
I wouldn't like probe into people's identities like that. Like, oh my god, where are you really from? Where are you really from? Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's a different side, but it's not
But like, I feel like
racial.
that is, I guess, like a better indicator that someone may be from somewhere else, in a sense. Like when you look at someone, you can't really say like, you can't tell that someone was from a different country and then they just immigrated to Canada and like they're not actually Canadian or whatever, or they weren't born in Canada. But with someone with an accent, then you can be like, maybe they're not from here. Like maybe they're from somewhere else because they have an accent that doesn't sound Canadian.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think accents in general are really a giveaway of where someone's from.
Yeah.
Like you see someone of color, and then you hear them speak. If they have a certain well, not necessarily Fobby accent, but any accent that is not familiar from your environment in terms of a typical like Southern Ontario accent, then you know they're not of you.
Of
Or
you.
have not had the similar upbringing.
Okay. So, Jame, have you experienced any microaggressions?
I don't know enough examples, so I don't really know.
Okay. Well, I can't really speak to the Asian Canadian experience or Asian experience within Canada.
But like, I mean,
because I'm not Asian.
I won't even count it. Like, see, like you can talk about microaggressions. I just talk about it more generally as racism. I've had very few racist experience in my life. Of note, one time I was like 7 years old walking home from school, and some people like rolled down their window and yelled out "Ching Chong" at me, and it stuck with my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, sometimes I wish I could have smashed them over the head with a bat, but that's really it.
Okay.
Like nothing else, nothing in adulthood. Like I'm actually streaming right now, and this is gonna go on a podcast, so I'll just leave it out. It's cool.
Okay.
I'm fairly.
Sure, what you feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'll just say I'm generally a fairly easygoing person, so problems don't usually find me. So.
That's good. I would say that's good. That's, I guess, the ideal experience of a human being, that you don't have to go through this bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, and in addition, like, not like, I guess not only am I not instigating, but yeah, people just don't bug me for them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Have like people ever made comments that um are based on stereotypes about your race. Based like are based on stereotypes of Asian men that may seem like a joke, but they're kind of like, eh.
No. Yeah, I've been really good.
Okay, that's good.
I'm more so. Yeah, I'm more so just kind of like, never really had the racist experience growing up, so I always just found humor in actually racist jokes, like people like Russell Peters. Um, actually, not okay. Actually, I won't even consider it racist, but like racial jokes, we'll call it. But Russell Peters, I guess Dave Chappelle sometimes. So yeah, kind of laughing at the general experience just because it's not real to myself, and it's a common thing that I would say my friend group went through, where we were so far removed from the actual experience that it was fun to do it. Yeah,
Interesting.
At least, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say for myself, I haven't gone through. From what I can recall, I don't think I've gone through any like blatant examples of racism. They've more so been subtle, but even so.
Sorry.
You're such a great podcaster.
No, I have to make sure that the sound is working. I'm so sorry.
This is our first podcast. We'll get better.
Quality check.
Okay. Intermission. We're doing a quality check, right?
Yeah, let's take a pause.
We should have music that you play in between.
I can play piano.
You cannot play piano.
I'm Asian. I can play piano. Oh, that's a microaggression. One time I was with these girls and
That is a microaggression.
I was saying some shit. I was talking some shit, and they're like, you know what? You can redeem yourself. And then they pulled out a keyboard. I was at their house, and they pulled out a keyboard. I was like, can you play it? And I'm like, no, I can't play it. It's like, oh, you bring shame to your Asian community.
So,
I was like, God damn it.
We should have music that you play in between. So depending on the kind of person you are, you can either like take that as a joke or not, whatever, depending on your experiences as well.
What? Okay, sorry, sound looks fine.
What are you doing?
I'm testing the mic.
This is my podcasting partner. Okay, all right.
Hey!
All right then.
I had to test the levels.
All right. Okay, so
we don't have a sound guy.
We don't have.
I am not Joe Rogan. I do not have Jame doing his thing. Jame is his like tech guy in the back.
Oh, okay. I don't watch the Joe Rogan Experience. Sorry.
Yeah, because you're a woman.
What does that have to do with anything?
Demographics are largely male.
Okay, but there are some female listeners.
Yeah, it's like 10 to 1 though.
I just don't have an interest. Whatever. Okay, moving on. So as I was doing actual research on microaggression, the one that I found that there was like themes. There's different themes within microaggressions, and there are common sayings or actions that are under each theme, and they have their own message, their underlying message. So I can say them all to you. There's actually quite a number of them, which I didn't even realize.
Sure, let's go.
Were microaggressions. I've heard of these experiences of people, but I didn't know that they were considered microaggressions. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting to read about. But the one that you brought up about piano, I would say this falls under the theme of ascription of intelligence, assigning intelligence to a person of color on the basis of their race. So
Asians are good at that.
Yeah, so asking an Asian person what? Yeah, that dance. Actually, yeah, that's another one.
And play bass, and you can do neither.
Play basketball, yeah.
And you can do neither of the three. None of the three.
Oh, well, thank you. I guess I'm not a black person. I'm not really black then, which is also another microaggression. Yeah, I would say asking an Asian really person to help with their math or science. What is? Yeah, I'm light skinned. Yeah,
you're
sure.
Just
that's
like
a fact.
Drake.
What does that mean?
You're just like Drake, but you're not Jewish. Muslim.
I'm not. No, I'm neither.
Yeah, you don't go born. See, unlike being born ethnically Jew, I don't think you can be born ethnically Muslim. It's not a thing.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So I can't really give much comment on that.
All right.
Because I don't know. But yeah, ascription of intelligence. So, for example, asking an Asian person to help with a math or science problem because you assume that all Asians are intelligent and good in math and science. When that's not always the case, it has much more to do
Is there any
with
is
their
this
actual
is this from a
intelligence of their
paper?
race.
Where's this from? I'd like to see a study on Asian stats on math and science, because I feel like
I think it depends on where the study is taking place.
right, but I feel like if you did a math study, actually true, because if you well, you know what though, I think Singapore is like just better overall at math and has like the highest. Yeah, but yeah, you could do a quick study. I could bet I could spend 3 hours just going over the stats and seeing if there's any truth to that. Because on a joke level, generally the Asians were above average in math.
Okay, I don't really know much about this topic, but
so let's say but see, I think there's a certain bias to that. So like, let's say in high school there was like 3 Asian people in my math class. We're all good at math, but it's like we're all in the academic math class. So if we're bad at math, maybe we'd be in the college math class.
But okay, does that
this does not count as a sample? This is just purely anecdotal from 130.
So, but would you be doing this study in North America or somewhere in Asia? Because I think there's a difference
you'd have to do a study
in terms
everywhere.
of what the values would be. Like,
yeah, you'd have
and also like,
actually,
if you're
it's
a first generation,
must work hard.
And your parents have a certain idea about, school, which I think this also applies to African countries as well. Like African and Asian countries, like this importance being put on education, which is not a bad thing. But like if you're I feel like you also, and I'm not Asian, but like I feel like maybe you have to take into consideration whether or not I don't know, like you're first generation, and if this is something that's being put on you by your parents, like math, science, you have to be good at those things. You have to keep studying. And also, I don't know what, like, in actual Asian countries, which are very diverse and different from each other, like what subjects are put at a higher importance and what others, and what subjects aren't.
These are actually very good points.
So if like math and science are important within a lot of Asian countries, then it wouldn't surprise me that a lot of Asian students would be doing well in those subjects.
As well, if they were not important and yet they still did well, that would truly prove Asian superiority on the Aryan race.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay. Okay. Ooh, I think this drink is getting to me a bit. I feel a bit kind of. Ooh. All right. Yeah. So back to the themes of racial microaggressions. Again, these are just racial microaggressions. Excuse me. What?
Don't burp into the mic. Don't. Yeah. Like just move the mic away too. Yeah. That's.
Oh
smarter.
God. Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
There's some big brain activity there.
Oh, why did I drink this? Okay. So some other themes that fall under racial microaggressions include, and I'm reading from a chart that I found online. And another example is alien in own land. So when example would be like when Asian Americans or Canadians and Latinx Canadians are assumed to be foreign born. So referring back to that question, where are you from? Where were you born? You speak good English. And the message behind that is you are not American or Canadian or of whatever country. You are a foreigner. So another one, which I mentioned before, is the ascription of intelligence. Color blindness is another one. Statements that indicate...
What's color blindness? Please
Ooh, okay. Statements that indicate that a white person does not want to acknowledge race, even though you have 20/20 vision. So examples of certain statements. And by the way, microaggressions don't always have to be statements. They can be actions, which I can bring up later. But an example would be like, when I look at you, I don't see color. There's only one race, the human race. So statements like that deny a person of color's racial and ethnic experiences. I think I've encountered this in my life where I've said certain things and it's like, well, someone will say to me like, well, I don't see color. And then that just kind of dismisses everything I just said about the experiences as a black person. I don't see your colors, so therefore I don't see your experiences.
Mm-hmm.
That's the message that I get, and I think other people get as well. Yeah, this is a big one. This next theme, I think this is a big one among the black community. So the theme of criminality, the assumption of criminal status. I feel like this is the theme that's highlighted most in the news, if it is highlighted, specifically in regards to police brutality, which doesn't always happen in the U.S. It happens in Canada too, and other places.
It's to talk about criminality though. It's like,
Sorry, what's that?
Oh, that has more to like. That goes deeper than criminality though. That's just a like institutionalized racism, systemic racism.
But this falls under microaggressions. So like maybe the intention behind this is, I'm trying to keep the community safe, or I just wanted to make sure that everyone was safe, everyone was good, you're not a bad person. That's like the message. So, and this can happen in different, like the degree to which this happens, it varies. So in terms of like violence, aggression, and whatnot. But with this, a person of color is presumed to be dangerous, criminal, or deviant on the basis of their race. So I guess like a more like tame, in quotations, tame example would be like if a white woman was in an elevator and then a black man got onto the elevator, and then she suddenly felt the need to clutch her purse because she felt some type of way, like, ooh, this person doesn't seem off. This environment seems off to me. Like,
the thing with that though is situational in the sense that I understand when you paint it as a story, but it doesn't have to be racial. So like that woman. Like, how do we know that woman wouldn't react the same way if it was any man? You know?
That is true. Yeah. Like, that's a good point.
We can paint it as racial when it truly is or was, but it doesn't have to be, right? And I think we as a globalized society are shifting away from it. I mean, certain places obviously not. Some places are definitely going backwards. Yeah. But I think generally, and especially Canadian society, for the most part, is not racist in that sense.
Is not, you think so?
I mean, there's levels to it, and then Canada would be toned down many degrees from the worst places in the States or the average.
This is actually really interesting because I was reading a book by this author called Robin Maynard, and she talks about this exact thing, this exact feeling that I'm feeling towards this statement. So I feel like when we talk about like modern racism against black people, a lot of the times the U.S. is referenced. And when we speak in regards to Canada, there's this sort of like amnesia because I guess, well, I don't know why. I guess maybe because Canada doesn't highlight these issues as much in the news or the media.
Okay, what's the current issue?
A current issue? Police brutality. What do you mean?
With what?
What do you mean? What do you mean with what?
Where?
Everywhere, in Toronto, in big cities. There was a study done by Ryerson University a few years ago. They published a report in 17 about the Black experience in the GTA, and they highlight these experiences. Also, the Human Rights Commissioner of Ontario, they have a study on this. They also came up with like a plan to address anti-Black racism. So these things exist. Whether or not they're highlighted, that's really depends.
So it's predominantly in the GTA though.
Well, no, I'm just highlighting a specific example. I can't speak for other.
No, but that specific example, is it truly just within the GTA?
Well, this study focused specifically on the GTA.
Yeah.
So it's not. I wouldn't say it's just within the GTA. There's other places too. There's places in Winnipeg. There's places in Nova Scotia. There's places in BC.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just within the GTA.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wonder if the stats are available. 'Cause I really.
Yeah, these stats are available. They're on Myerson's website. I actually have a link to this because I was doing some research for a paper
I guess
a year
not
ago.
only the raw data, but if there's studies on.
Oh yes, of course.
Showing discrimination heavily to the blacks. Hey, Andrew, what's good? We're specifically talking about black people right now, but what are you thinking about racism there? Are you thinking about like Asian ones, like yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not there. I really can't speak. I'm not there, and I have not made any attempt to study it. And yeah, it's kind of I don't remember what that saying is, but it's a little like not my lawn, not my problem kind of thing. And it doesn't also bleed into your everyday news too. So
yeah, I think that's important too. Like exposure,
issue.
like if these issues aren't highlighted in the news, which people refer to, as well as the media.
Oh, okay. See, yeah. Actually, Andrew brings this point. He says, "Bro, I got yelled at by black people 2 weeks ago about coronavirus," and it's not. I don't think he's targeting black people specifically, but there's this Asian racism thing going around about the coronavirus. There's one video my brother sent me, like a group of like call them hoodlums. But like it didn't even look like ghetto America, just like some random city.
Yeah.
And like this Asian dude who's by himself, and like teenage black kids just like knocked him out and robbed him. But I don't think it had anything with coronavirus. I think it was just a regular robbery that was recorded. But yeah, Asians being blamed for that, so
that's terrible. And I'm not like here as I'm speaking about microaggressions, specific mostly as it pertains to black people. I'm not trying to paint black people as saints. You know what I mean? So like they can espouse microaggressions as well. They can show examples of overt racism as well, and that's fucked up. Yeah. But
so like that's, and I completely understand that because that's what WorldStar and lots of news places are built on. But for me, I just care about the numbers, right? So it's like if black people are responsible for 20% of crime in GTA, then 20% of the resources, whatever, should be, potentially like allocated, right? But if instead like 80% of black people are being stopped, even though only 20% of the crimes, then that is literally like how we go into the racist stage, right?
Sorry,
like
what's the last thing you said?
Oh, like let's say, so if there's like only a 2 in 10 chance, of criminality, then you should be having like 20% of your energy towards it, right? The same way where if on a more extreme, it's if 100% of black people were criminals, then 100% of resources, 100% of the time you should be checking that person. So like a real life example is like New York, like on the subway, like a black person has, like let's say an average person has like a 1 in 1,000 chance of being stopped on the subway for a bag check.
Okay.
A black kid has like a 1 in 2 chance, like a coin flip.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, like they're disproportionately affected.
Yeah, no, but like the response I feel should be proportionate to the activity. So again, if 20% of crimes, then 20% of your like check-in. That's just one way of looking at it. But anything, that's not even correct. I just thought of that. So
20% check-in.
Yeah. I mean, definitely not in the mental space to check on if that makes sense to do it that way or not.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work because
That's some napkin
like
math that doesn't really make sense, but yeah.
because I feel like anti-black racism specifically is so ingrained in society that it just like trickles down to so many things. So there's like so many layers to it. So I just don't know how that would work in real life.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not the kind of person like I have no clue how that I don't know how to answer that question or respond to that. But it's just it's very complicated.
Yeah, no, racism is definitely hard, especially if you don't experience that specific brand of racism. So, like,
Yeah.
as far as black friends go, it was always positive experiences, and I didn't spend enough time with them in different situations in order to potentially experience it. And I never even asked them about it. So, but the one dude I know, Keenan, he's a mulatto Oreo type dude, and he's a really big dude. And I asked him if he had problems, and he said he didn't have problems. I forgot where he was from though. Yeah, I actually wonder where he grew up. Scarborough? I don't know, but yeah, his experience was positive, but like, you know, is you can't draw sweeping conclusions from any one story.
No.
But it's about the Vanessa experience and the
Well,
Jame
I don't want to
experience.
just make it about me, but
but this is what it is, because this is what we're talking about. We're not digesting people's novels and writing about it. This is not the Emmett Till experience as interpreted by Vanessa. It's just your experience where you've digested your own experiences and also other people's, right? And
yeah.
same for me.
Yeah. By the way, mulatto can sometimes be considered derogatory.
Well, I said it with him and he didn't care, so I'm just using it.
Well, it can, yeah.
Using it with him.
If you don't know the history of that word, then I can see where you could kind of just.
What's the accepted terminology today? Interracial? Half. What do you have to say?
What are you trying to say? Are you trying to refer to my race, like refer to someone that's biracial, half black, half white?
I'm trying to identify his like background in as
biracial
few words as possible.
Biracial
mixed. Is meaningless because I still have to add on to it after.
I feel like with that word, you have to be careful.
If I say biracial, I say biracial, half black, half white. Like, but then what's the point of saying biracial? Let's just say, yeah.
I wouldn't use that word just because
Which,
you don't know how someone's gonna take it. It has like a history with slavery in the U.S.
Yeah.
So where black women were raped by white men. So and then they produced mixed babies. So I would just be careful with that one.
Oh, okay.
But I have encountered that word myself.
Yeah. Well,
my uncle has called me that word. Who, by the way,
I learned it from a half black girl who referred to herself as mulatto. So I blame her.
I feel like, okay, yeah, no, there may be some people like that as well.
I didn't even know the word until she taught me it. So
yeah, all right.
Yeah, but yeah, I will be more sensitive to that. I don't even like the word that much. It kind of reminds me of a milkshake though, so that's kind of why I like it.
It makes me think of like a
macchiato. Yeah, like a macchiato. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It has like a nice taste. It gives a good image. Yeah. What's the thing? That's the thing about reappropriating, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Depends on which direction we want to take with it.
Yeah.
Things don't have to mean what they meant. They can mean something else, and vice versa. For example,
I guess
moving.
Depends.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So like something like the swastika, it was a like important Buddhist symbol.
But it was the other way around.
True, but it was tainted by the Nazi regime.
Yes, but it was like altered in a way. Like the symbol itself was altered.
Yeah, like it wasn't important to me specifically growing up. Like I never saw it, but I just learned it later. So yeah, it's very interesting how that shit works. Or like the Confederate flag. Like I don't even know what the Confederate flag means, but when I see it, I just think of the Ku Klux Klan. So in southern Ontario, like you'll see Confederate flags every once in a while, and sometimes people like are
you see them in
have
southern Ontario?
yeah, like the country kids are about it. I don't really understand.
That's really strange.
Yeah.
But in London, a couple months ago, I was walking to school, and like when from at that time, what I knew about that flag was that it was associated with the U.S. and the American Civil War, and blah blah blah. And today, I guess like it's a representation of racism, Ku Klux Klans, etc. But I was walking to school one day, and I saw someone with their black truck pass me by going in the opposite direction with two flags on each side of their truck, and I had to stop myself because I was like, that looks very familiar, but this is Canada. Why is this here? And I had to Google it, and I was right. It was the Confederate flag.
This turned off at some point.
It did?
Mhm.
What happened?
I don't know. It turned off at some point. Were you at the end of it? Were you pulling on the end of it?
Oh.
Bitches.
This is such a great podcast. What's going on?
I don't know. I think you pulled the cord out
At what point did I pull the cord out?
at some point.
Okay. So a lot of stuff that I could have said could have just been all missed, and
Yeah.
I don't know what part of that was. So yeah, but I was talking about, I don't know where I last left off or what part was last recording, but I was talking about how a couple months ago I was walking to school in London, Ontario.